the worst, the despicable Norbie Williamson, who Pat McAfee got into a little bit of a beef with. He was the one who went on his show and he said, "This guy is a fucking rat." Basically, what happened was, if you didn't follow the situation that closely, he was trying to turn in some documents with the ratings and sabotage the Pat McAfee show. Pat McAfee got wind of that, went on his show, kind of freestyled a little bit of a, hey, what the hell is this guy doing? This guy's a rat trying to basically sabotage my show. And then the history goes back even further, because when Pat McAfee was initially looking for a job at ESPN around 8 years ago, had a meeting with this gentleman named Norbie Williamson, and he waited and waited, and the guy just did not show up to the meeting and no showed him. And Pat took that personally, to quote The Last Dance. I took that moment personally, and then went on to have the most successful independent sports show,
Ever.
at least as far as the NFL, ever. This article from Outkick kind of detailing the situation that we'll go over, then we'll recap. So basically, Williamson accused Pat McAfee, the new face of ESPN, of sabotaging his show since joining the network back in January. McAfee quickly doubled down by referring to Williamson as a rat. The verbal offensive sparked a reported massive internal power struggle behind the scene at ESPN, and there's now a clear winner, and it's not Norbie Williamson. Norbie Williamson's contract was supposed to go until 2028 and then end at the Super Bowl, but with his vision and ESPN, they clearly weren't aligning on the same page, which led ESPN to part ways with Norbie Williamson 4 years early. And they chose Pat McAfee. And what do they say? When you take a shot at the king, you best not miss, because Pat McAfee came out on top and he built his show from the ground up independently, had one of the most successful shows. And this guy was like, oh, I think I know best. I think I know best at ESPN's like, no, I don't think you do, because have you built your own show independently on YouTube without the help of ESPN? Now with the help of ESPN, makes his life a whole lot easier, and the quality of his show has gone up production wise.
Yeah, and Norbert Williamson also was at ESPN when you saw the mass exodus, like what you're seeing in California, people leaving for Austin. Like you saw Colin Cowherd leave, you saw Chris Broussard leave, you saw Marcellus Wiley leave, you saw all these people leave ESPN about a decade ago to go to FS1 or to just leave to get out of ESPN. You've had constantly people calling out ESPN for all the nonsense that they had. We had Sage Steele, who was on recently talking about some of the nonsense of ESPN.
Yeah.
And part of that was because of Norman Williamson and the shit that he's been doing. So now, who won the divorce? At this point, Pat McAfee has won the war. And at this point, he's probably the most powerful sports talk person in all of sports.
Just think about it. You know how expensive it was to even acquire Pat McAfee, get into the room and discuss like a potential contract with him, and the fact that ESPN just poured all of this money into him. And then if I was in the upper management at the top, the only person that Pat McAfee may or may not have to report to, and then this other executive is trying to sabotage his show because he doesn't like his style, or doesn't like that he has Aaron Rodgers on, or lets his guests actually talk. Maybe it's he thinks he's unprofessional in a way, and he tries to sabotage an investment I just put all of our resources in, pushed all my chips in, and now you're trying to sabotage my investment. I would be like, are you out of your mind? Get out of my building right now. Because what actually is the goal of trying to sabotage our biggest investment, the person we're setting up to be the face of ESPN? He's on WWE, he's on College Game Day, and then he's had the biggest independent show, and then you're trying to sabotage all of my money that I just paid him. Just think about it, like, as far as like a money standpoint, like, who's more important, the face, the talent, or just some guy sitting up in a office telling people what to say and what not to say?